Okay, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. So let's just jump into a quick little pentatonic warm-up of sorts. You can do this on staff paper if you prefer. I'm going to do it just on letter names. But this is just hearkening to the video that you had on Wednesday. I'd like you to build me two different pentatonic collections. So in the next, 2 minutes or so, build me an E major pentatonic collection and a B flat minor pentatonic collection. Any way you choose, there are tons of ways to do this, so whichever way makes you happy. Notation or letter names. Take 2 minutes and then we will regroup and check our work in a second. Take about 30 more seconds. If you just entered the room, we're just doing these two little pentatonic warm-ups at the top of the blackboard. Okay, I'm going to go about this the way that is easiest and fastest for me. And if your method was different, but we end up with the same answer, then we're all good. So I'm going to start by writing out an E major scale. Now, if you remember from the lecture, all of these pentatonic collections, major or minor, are easily derived from the major or minor scale with the same tonic. So E major pentatonic collection, I've got my E major scale written out, and then I am just going to extract the tritone. So for a major scale, that means I am getting rid of scale degrees 4 and 7. So I'm just going to go in, get rid of the A, get rid of the D sharp, and what I have left is the E major pentatonic collection. Now, again, if you went about that a different way, but got that as your answer, then we're all good. B flat minor, I'm going to go through the same process. Remember when you're doing this, when you're building minor pentatonic collections, to use the natural minor scale as your baseline. So I'm going to go through and spell out B flat natural minor scale. And then again, I am going to get rid of the tritone. Now, in a minor scale, your tritone is no longer between 4 and 7. It is now between scale degrees 2 and 6. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of scale degree 2, scale degree 6, and what I am left with is the B flat minor pentatonic collection. All right, so that was a just quick and dirty refresher from Wednesday's lecture. If there are questions, throw them in the chat or take yourself off mute. And if there are not, then we will go ahead and get started for the day. So looking at Blackboard, and I haven't gotten everything graded because I didn't go on this morning, but it seems like a lot of you chose to do the free write for this piece. So quite a few of you have now heard the Debussy at least twice. And some of you even mentioned having, prior knowledge of the piece as well. It is a short enough piece that I'm happy to listen to it once as a group. So we're going to start with that today. And then I'm going to put you in breakout groups. I did this last class. I did not know this last semester. It might be a new feature with the update, but you can let participants choose their own breakout rooms. So I'm going to do that today with you guys and let you kind of choose who you want to work with for today. So I will open up the breakout rooms. There'll be groups of like 3. And you're going to spend like 15 to 20 minutes in those groups. And we'll talk about that in a couple minutes after we listen to the Debussy. So as we listen to this, I would like for you to grab your score if you've got it handy or close. And a lot of you, I'm assuming, as you listened for your free writes, made some kind of markings on your score in some way. So maybe revisit those as you listen now. But also, if this is your first time listening, or if you want to grab a pencil and kind of keep marking up your score, I'm interested in just what sounds cool to you. Some of you actually directed me to specific measures in your free writes that sounded especially kind of transcendent to you. Cadential points. That's a great place to start if you're feeling a little lost in this piece. What moments sound cadential? Circle them, and we'll go back later and figure out what key we're tonicizing. And any just kind of generally cool spots that jump out to you. So let's give this a listen. Here you go. Okay. So, in your breakout groups, you're going to be there for about 20 minutes, 15 to 20. You can use your free write as sort of your jumping off point. So, if we were like in real space together, we would be doing basically exactly this, only you would be sitting in little pods instead of me putting you in virtual ones. But use your free writes as a jumping off point or whatever you marked on your score just now. And I want you to just take those 15 minutes and discuss whatever it is that you found striking about the piece and try and sort of figure out what's going on. If there's a particular harmony that really stuck out to you, figure out what it is, what it's doing, what the tonal center is. If you are feeling very lost, some good ideas to start. Think about key centers. That can be a really fruitful topic with this piece. You can follow some motives around. There are some motivic units that sort of span the entire work, so you can follow that thread. I had a couple of groups last hour come up with a discussion of form. So is this piece form diagrammable? What's going on with the form of it? How would you describe it? So those are some great topics if you want to just take those, or whatever it is that you sort of come up with in your group. At the end of the 15 to 20-ish minutes, I'm going to ask you to appoint one spokesperson from your group, and that spokesperson is going to talk to us about your findings for the last little bit of class. So, like I said, I'm going to allow you to choose your groups. For some reason, when I did this last hour, only like half of the people got the pop-up about the breakout groups. So I'm not sure why or what happened, but let's see kind of what you get. I am going to have you in groups of, it'll be groups of 3. We'll have one group of 4. So you should now have some sort of pop-up asking you to join a room. So if you want to jump in your personal chats and grab a buddy, you can kind of sort yourselves. Whatever it is you guys talked about in your group. So I bounced around. I heard some really good discussions. So whoever your spokesperson is going to give us a kind of Cliff Notes version. I'm going to mark up the score as you guys are talking. Just sort of as... You guys were either 4 or 5, I think. We'll know when we get there. All right, so I'm gonna mark up the score. Oh man, you were 3. Okay, I'm gonna mark up the score as you guys talk, so that you have something to sort of go on, especially if you plan on doing a discussion response for this piece. Okay, let's just go down the line. I think I worked backwards when I was visiting, so group 1 was the last group I visited, but I'm going to have you guys start. So whomever was your spokesperson, you guys can go ahead and start us off.
Yes, so we talked about it opens kind of ambiguous if it's going to be E flat minor or G flat major collections.
Good.
And then there's that C, which is not in the collection in the left hand, and then it clearly becomes G flat major. And then we talked about lots of extended harmonies in this section. And then we talked extensively about the implied B flat dominant 7 in measure 18 that brings us to measure 19 in E flat major, which is interesting because we would expect maybe E flat minor.
Good.
And that was also foreshadowed in measure 6. And then it goes back to G flat, and we talked about that.
Good, good. So let's talk a little bit about, this tonicization of E flat major, which we get early on, and then we really kind of blow it up later, later on in the first page. So this ambiguous opening, we talked about this last hour as well, and I responded to some free writes along these lines. Up until here, we are fully within the pentatonic collection, but in the video I talked a lot about pitch centricity, and an E flat minor and a G flat major pentatonic collection have the exact same 5 notes. It's just the centric pitch is how you determine if it's major or minor pentatonic collection. And this opening motive doesn't give you a lot of help in terms of figuring that out. So if we look at this opening motive, okay, immediately we arpeggiate a G flat major triad. So if you're really just hearing this for the first time left to right, that is an immediate kind of response that, okay, G flat major triad. But then what do? We go down to E flat, and not only do we extend down to E flat, but that becomes our turnaround point. And if we look at the contour of this, we are framing the E flat minor 7th chord. So our highest pitch is D flat, our lowest pitch is E flat, and we play up and down through that minor 7th for the entirety of this motive. So we have contour that's suggesting E flat minor. And then at the very end, when we get this plagal cadence, it introduces a non-pentatonic pitch in the C flat, but that plagal cadence is what finally kind of solves the opening problem of, are we major, are we minor? That plagal cadence sets us up in G flat sort of affirmatively. And then, yeah, this cadence at measure 7, which I heard a lot of groups talking about, where we shift into E flat major, and then we really expand upon that at the bottom of the page, and we just kind of toggle this 5-1 for quite a while until we get to this moment, which I'm sure at least one of you are going to talk about as well. So I will leave that for when that happens. All right, thank you. What do we have, group 2?
I think our group was group 2.
Okay.
So instead of focusing on the beginning, we actually focused a lot on the end, because we thought that the cadence, or if cadence, I guess, at the end was very interesting because there it almost doesn't sound like a cadence, but it kind of is. So I think it's a 2/6 in measure 35, and then there's the pattern of intervals going up into the triplet, and then there's a big 1 chord in 36. And then there's the D flat octave in measure 37, which almost gives a sense of 5, but very non-traditionally. There's no like big like fives. There's no like tritones or chromatic like leading tones, which is a lot of what the pentatonic kind of collection is about, with taking out the tritones. So I thought that connection was cool. And then it goes like 5-1, and then it ends in tonic.
Yeah, good. Good. So yeah, this ending is really interesting. A couple of people mentioned in their free writes that they felt it was almost a little unsatisfying, and I think that slight dissatisfaction does to some degree come from the lack of the dominant. So it doesn't feel maybe perhaps as closed as we might expect. And like Natalie mentioned, without the tritone, you can't build a 5-7. So we don't get a big D flat 7 to lead us to 1. But instead, yeah, we get this really kind of subdued 5-1 in these upper voices with no harmony backing it, just scale degree 5 to scale degree 1. And yeah, we're led there through this 2-6-4 to 1. So we've got scale degree 6 in our lowest voice. And I'm going to refer us back to the opening motive, the opening melody, which we do get here. So I'm just going to use this. This 1-6-1 closure of that motive becomes almost like a calling card of the motive itself. That 1-6-1, it to some degree acts as a substitute for a 5-1 cadence, since we don't get a 5 chord because there's no scale degree 7 in the pentatonic collection. And that's not to say that this piece is entirely pentatonic. It's absolutely not. But it really does exploit the pentatonic collections to a pretty large degree. And so I'm going to swing us back to the first page. This is where we get our first instance of that 1-6-1 in the melody, and it's above the first entrance of the left hand with our plagal cadence. So that 1-6-1 in the melody starts to become cadential to us. And then it sort of expands itself at the very end to be this 6-1 in our bass voice to act as our substitute in a way for a terminal cadence. Good. That was some really good, like, deep exploration of a little segment of the piece. That was wonderful. All right, since we know who group 3 is, group 3, let's hear what you've got.
Sure. So what we put a lot of focus on was the descent from that high point. From measure 21, the very last beat, going into 22, you have that, like, you have the high point and that sort of, I guess, floating down using what I guess I'd consider that to be like 5 going into a 6 in measure 22.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that going all the way through until suddenly Debussy in measure 24 sort of dials right back to the pentatonic and very much like grounds that in the in measures 24, 25, 26, and
Good.
27
Good.
to some aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You get that, like, that floating, you think you're getting to some kind of resolution, and with that pentatonic motion in the last bar of the first system, you're sort of back to searching for something, whether
Good.
that be a resolution, whether that be something else.
Good. Good. So this moment, I heard a lot of groups talking about this moment, the last beat of measure 22, or measure 21, sorry. This guy right here. And since we are in our last minute, I'm going to summarize really quickly. So this moment is sort of generally considered the high point of the piece for tons of reasons. And I heard one group who I didn't even get to in our large group discussion. I heard a great discussion from them about different elements that contributed to this being a high point. At the top of the page, we get introduced to some new rhythms. We've got this new cool harmony that a lot of people talked about in their free writes. We've got increased harmonic rhythm. So there are tons of things that make the end of 21 into measure 22 a kind of peak of the piece. So with that in mind, because we are right at 50 minutes, if I did not get to your group in the large group discussion, you have tons of room now for your discussion response to just like go to town. Even if I did get to your group, you still have tons of room to go to town in your discussion response. So that is due on Monday if you choose to do it. The prompt is just as a PDF attached to the assignment on Blackboard. You do not have to follow a single prompt that I put in there. So the prompts are there to just kind of like get you going if you're feeling a little bit lost and not sure what you want to talk about. But from what I heard when I bounced around to the rooms, you all had some really great ideas about the piece. So you do not have to use any of the prompts that I gave you. You are very welcome to continue to the discussion that we have been having for the last hour. On Wednesday, we will talk about your first capstone project. Yeah, I can post this, and I'll even I was going to offer too as well, since we didn't get to I'm always happy to post, like, this is what my score looks like. This is what my life is. So I'm always happy to post this stuff for you guys if that's going to be helpful. It's a little chaotic, and it has like teaching notes on there and like my notes for myself. But yeah, I'm happy to post that to give you guys some ideas of even like just how my brain works and how I kind of approach this kind of stuff. So asynchronous class on Monday. You've got a video lecture already up on the YouTubes. If you're doing a discussion response, it's still due at your class time on Monday. And then we will meet on Wednesday. And on Wednesday, we will talk about your capstone project. We were going to talk about it today, but both my classes ran out of time. It's not due till the end of the month, but I wanted to give you tons of time to sort of prepare and be thinking about it. So that document is on Blackboard if you want to look at it, but we'll talk about it in class on Wednesday. All right, thank you guys for such wonderful discussion. I'm really excited to read your response papers if you choose to do them. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys all on Wednesday.
Thank you, Professor Salmon.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.